allegiance to the flag, to the republic, one nation, God, indivisible, liberty.
Thank you all. We're going to move right along to the approval of the agenda for this evening.
Can we,
We have a motion.
motion to add a closing prayer to that? Yeah.
Something needs to be removed. I'm not aware. Someone's not going to be here this evening. Okay, so that will ask to be removed from that. Councilman Rayner, okay? One of our presenters is not here this evening, so that will be removed. Okay. There a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilwoman Kearney is here. Good evening. No questions, no comments? Did you open up for a vote for the approval?
Yes.
No? Did you open it back up?
Yes, I did. I had to refresh.
Okay. This is an approval for the agenda for this evening for those that just came in. Thank you. We're going to move on to our presentations for this evening. Ms. Bryant Moore, you can come on up. Ms.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sherry Bryant Moore. I am Director of Community Grants and Partnerships with the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council. And with me is Brittany Drakeford with the Capital Market. And we are here today as a follow-up to the directive that we got from the previous council regarding the site selection and the process moving forward. I do think we have a presentation that we have prepared for you, which we hope will provide clarity. This is an exciting project, one that we have been working on for years, and hopefully at the end of this meeting, we can get your feedback and guidance on some key outcomes. And so, if I could go to the, you all, I would say, we've met no less than about 10 times, so I'm sure many of you are familiar with the work of the Arts Council, but this project literally is our mission, to serve as an advocate and to find financial resources that serve our neighborhoods and communities. And the next slide. On the phone or in the Zoom is our director, Rhonda Dallas, our CEO and chief curator of the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council. And with that, she will talk about some of our present projects, the sort of the strategy behind this particular project and others that are in the platform, in this particular program as part of the Blue Line Corridor. Rhonda, are you on? Okay, there she is. Rhonda, I think you're on mute.
Hear you? Dallas, can you hear us? We can't hear you, unfortunately.
Okay. So, yeah, we can go through,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what she said,
okay.
keep going.
So, I'll do the best I can. I am not our CEO, but Rhonda Dallas leads, in addition to the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council, she is the key administrator and curator of our public arts program for the county. That includes all our public buildings, and leads the public art strategy for the Blue Line Corridor. And so we thought we would start this particular presentation with just a few examples. One recently completed, and yeah, that one, Solstice Glow. And there we go. So this is a demonstration of the types of projects that we hope to bring to Seat Pleasant and also throughout the other 2 municipalities and incorporated areas. This is a partnership with NDC, the Neighborhood Design Center, Joe's Movement Emporium, and the city of Mount Rainier. This just unveiled last week, but the planning process took place before with NDC and other community partners leading the ideation. It was in response to a community need for traffic calming within that area where there are lots of children. And one of the key elements about this project is that in partnership with Joe's, there were a lot of, in addition to the community engagement with the neighborhood, there was also classes that were with children of all ages, and of course, the city partnership and the Maryland National Park and Planning Commission as well. And the next slide. So all of these, the next two slides, sort of lead into the key projects that have begun in Largo. They have begun and are currently in place in Largo. And this project, the DHCD project, is an extension of the larger picture, working with municipalities to kind of develop a mural strategy that helps tell the stories in the neighborhoods and communities that they serve. So this one is The Perennials, which was commissioned, I would say, some years ago, which just, and I think Mayor Porter had a chance to view it. I'm not sure if you all seen it. And I'm not sure if the picture shows the whole thing, but it has a combination of brown murals. And what I loved about this particular project is that it uses a lot of key themes right here in the city of Seat Pleasant, which evolve around community, sustainability, and technology. So, which are themes, how neighborhoods and through public art strategy can develop solutions that sort of reflect the vision and strategy of the community moving forward. And then I hope at some point Rhonda will be able to jump back in. The last slide is the downtown Largo, Maryland Civic Plaza, which is right now breaking ground. This has a combination of the same large totems, but very, very different, whereas that one focused on sustainability and technology. The totems that will be installed there will focus, I'm not sure if any of you all at the Blue Line Carter Coalition launched, a series of butterfly themes. So this similar but reflecting themes celebrating the cultures, the Native American culture, the African and African American culture, and the Latin American culture. In addition to that, we just had our artist selection for a mural that will also be taking place. Again, this particular project is extremely community-driven. There were many, many stakeholder meetings, and with the mural, the community actually voted on the top 3 artists. We had a countywide selection. Some of you may have gotten the invitation to vote. But the whole focus of this is to develop civic pride, civic engagement, and to mirror and develop an infrastructure for future projects moving forward. And with that, I am going to, if you have any questions about that, I will bring up Brittany Drakeford with the Capital Market. And before she comes up, many of you all have, no, come on up, Brittany. When we wrote this grant with several partners. At that point, it was 18 months ago, and the Blue Line Coalition were still in the planning stages. And so the capital market brings, in addition to all the things that they bring, but some really hard skills. They are excellent project managers, with Kyle having a lot of experience at the federal level, local level, with project management and real estate. And I always want to call her doctor. Brittany Drakeford brings, as a senior planner at the local level and at the national level, brings a lot of project management experience. She also is a historian, a site historian up and down the Blue Line Corridor. And so for the purpose of this meeting and in answering all the questions that surfaced at the last meeting, hopefully this process will bring clarity and facilitate the decision-making behind this particular project.
Ms. Bryant Moore, before you step down, does Ms. Dallas want to log off and then try to log back in to see if that will help while
Oh, yes.
Ms. Rayford is speaking? She can't hear.
Oh, you can't hear. Oh,
No, we can't hear you.
yeah.
You say,
She's going to log off and come back in, right? Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. I'm really appreciative for the opportunity to be able to speak before you all today. As Sherry mentioned, I do have an extensive background in public history, working for over 15 years in public history. And currently, when I'm not furloughed, currently I also do federal commemoration. So one of my primary responsibilities is reviewing national sites within the National Mall and within the National Capital Region for commemorative purposes. So any new monument, memorial, or museum, I'm actually a part of a project team to review that. So as we walk through some of the site selection process for Seat Pleasant, some of the methodologies and some of the experiences from that process is what we've tried to incorporate and roll over through this work today. So I think it's also just important to note that the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council continues to collaborate with municipalities along the Blue Line Corridor to plan and implement ongoing public art projects and creative placemaking initiatives. So each year, the Arts and Humanities Council pursues a variety of grant opportunities to support this work, including funding from the Maryland Arts Council, some county funds from the Blue Line Corridor, for the Blue Line Corridor, as well as projects like the Department of Health and Community Development, Department of Housing and Community Development's Health and Public Safety Grant. And so their investment in collaboration with the city of Seat Pleasant reflects their shared value and commitment to really developing a comprehensive public art strategy. So while today we're before you talking about one particular use of one grant fund, I think it's safe to say that the Arts and Humanities Council really sees this as an ongoing initiative and an opportunity to identify multiple sites for future feasibility of different public art activations. Next slide, please. So now I'm just going to walk a little bit through our project timeline for this project and also just hit some of the key highlights about the project overview and purpose. So this particular grant, the Community Health and Safety Works Program, which was issued through the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, supports 3 community-led creative placemaking and public art projects in Seat Pleasant, Capitol Heights, and Fairmont Heights. And each of these projects are intended to elevate local identity, enhance public spaces, and align with the Blue Line Corridor revitalization efforts. So each of these projects must be completed or must be shovel-ready by December 1st. So when we say shovel-ready, that means it needs to have whatever kind of approvals it needs to have in order to proceed so that funds can be encumbered. The grant also helps to fund one of several future public art projects that the Arts and Humanities Council would like to plan with the city of Seat Pleasant. So this is just some of the engagement that the Arts and Humanities Council has had with the city of Seat Pleasant over the last 18 months, so going back to February of 2024. So just different ways in which they've either coordinated with the council, with city staff, or with the public. So now I'll just walk through our next slide, which covers the site selection review process. So we identify 6 main categories for site selection criteria. And so we use this criteria as a way to be able to evaluate the different sites that have been suggested, right? We know that there are a variety of different places that we want to see public art in the community. And so this was one of our, basically a ranking tool that we were able to use to see what is feasible to correspond with this particular grant. So there are 6 categories. Time of implementation. So can this project be completed by that December 1st deadline, or at least be shovel ready? Is the property within an incorporated municipality or within a focus area of the Blue Line Corridor? Has the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council had documented meetings, issued surveys, or conversations with residents, elected officials, business owners, or other interested stakeholders, community partnerships? So will this particular site enhance the stature of involvement of county, state, and local community groups or other community organizations? And then the cost of implementation. Is the total cost of site preparation, research, artist fees, and all of those other things that roll into the project within the project budget? So these are the 4 sites that we have heard from just different community groups as to what we want to see, particularly or potentially public arts. So Seat Pleasant Elementary School, the Fun and Fitness Park, Goodwin Park, and then we also heard a recommendation of the Seat Pleasant EJD building. So I'll just walk through each of those in very high detail, right? So the Fun and Fitness Park, the park is owned by the city, but the retaining wall is owned by the county. So there would need to be some kind of agreement required to advance this work. While it is a smaller surface location, it is a very important community space. And there's some additional work that needs to happen around assessing the actual wall for feasibility. And that's just something that has to happen as best practice with any art project. Next slide. So then we have the Seat Pleasant Elementary School, particularly G Street. And this site is within the city jurisdiction and would allow for immediate execution of an MOU. Previously, this was considered, or at least what we heard, was that this was considered for an ARPA project, but was deselected due to some budget constraints. But recently, the Department of Public Works and Transportation and the Neighborhood Design Center have offered funds and resources to help to implement that project that would basically supplement any funds from this particular grant. The next site is the EJD building. This site was recommended, but we're really unclear about the city's full interest of proceeding with this site. We also, from the Arts and Humanities Council perspective, they have not necessarily done a lot of public engagement on this particular site to see a public activation. And then finally, there's Goodwin Park, which has been recommended as a potential location, but is also currently undergoing some design and implementation phasing with the Neighborhood Design Center. So while it is an awesome location for public art activation, given some of the current plans, the timing for this one is a little interesting. So next, we want to just compare what the actual sites look like in comparison to the criteria that was developed. So when you look at this chart, anything that is a full green circle means that it meets the criteria that I walked through earlier. If it has a half circle, that means that it partially meets that requirement or that criteria. If it has a white circle, that means that it does not meet that project criteria. So next slide. So when we take the different criteria that is identified through the grant and through some of the grant expectations, the sites are ranked as followed, right? And this is just based off of the criteria. So C Pleasant Elementary School would allow some ability to be able to implement or at least get that project shovel ready by December 1st, while also meeting some of the costs of implementation. Goodwin Park would rank second, right? With just challenges between the time of implementation and the cost of implementation. More so cost because there's some additional things that need to be figured out. The EJD building and the Fun and Fitness Park actually rank about the same. Again, we mentioned that the EJD building, it was a little unclear about if the city even has interest in that particular site for this project, and just some of the ongoing engagement that would need to happen from the Arts and Humanities Council perspective. And then finally, the Fun and Fitness Park, while it is a great project and we know that there is interest from the city, we still don't know what the interest has been from I believe the county who owns the retaining wall. Additionally, the cost of implementation still has somewhat of a question mark, only because we have not conducted an actual analysis of the wall. So it just requires a little deeper dig for advancing that particular site project. So these are just the suggested sites that we identify for this particular project and how we analyze that. So from here, I don't know, Sherry, if you wanted to round out some of our next steps. I think one of the major asks that we have for this body today is really to seek approval potentially for the Seat Pleasant Elementary School, or if there's another site that you all believe based off of that ranking could potentially work, to perhaps have a discussion about that. Also, as we mentioned earlier, the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council does not see this project as one and done. So we were also interested in requesting authorization to continue to work with staff, to continue to conduct a feasibility for the Fun and Fitness Park, and to identify additional public art activation spaces that are consistent with funding opportunities. One of the things that I've noticed as we've been walking through this project is that there's a huge opportunity to identify multiple sites and actually analyze all of those sites at one time for their feasibility for public art. What that would allow us to do is to vet sites, seek public input, and as funding comes out and rolls out, be able to deploy projects as needed immediately, rather than each time a site comes up having to go back out to do a full round of community stakeholder charrettes and all of those fun things, right? This basically developing a public arts plan for the city, a public arts plan for the city. Then also we would be requesting assistance with the feasibility of establishing perhaps a cultural arts advisory stakeholder group that could work alongside the council, staff, and the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council to think about implementing that potential public art strategy. One of the roles of the capital market through this project is to develop some recommendations to the Arts and Humanities Council, and that's certainly something that we're looking at including in that. And so with that, I think that is, thank you for your time. I think I went through that a little longer than anticipated. So I really appreciate your time. And then if there are any questions, I would certainly be open to those.
Thank you all for your presentation this evening. Was Ms. Dallas able to get in and to be, you can hear us? We still can't hear you. Okay, thank you all. Mayor, Council, Mayor Porter, I hear you, but anybody else, if you want to fall in line to have questions, just let me know. I'm trying to keep my eyes on both.
I don't have into the in and out of the area and so forth, going to that McDonald's and the other areas that we specify, the commercial district in the area. The other area that I would consider is Central Avenue, since the Seat Pleasant holds Central Avenue from the DC line all the way down to the 495. That particular corridor okay, would be an excellent place to do something as far as putting the whole thing with reference to the Blue Line corridor and the strategies you have with reference to the types of sites. That would help also in calming, traffic calming. There's a lot of different things, and also will be very visible to people coming in and out from the district, okay, back into Maryland, that corridor. I see that as being a viable thing, a route, and connecting that to DC directly, and what they're trying to do with their area, okay, when they're advancing the East Capitol, Southern Avenue area, okay. So I'm just going to bring that up as things I'd like to suggest, okay, for the future as far as additional sites.
Thank you, Mayor. Pro Tem. Any other questions?
Good evening. How much was the grant for this project?
So the grant that we received was $100,000. And for each of the municipalities, it started out with 4 projects. One of the projects fell off because they lost their federal earmark and had to reapply, which delayed the project. It fell outside of the time period. We're still pursuing that project. And so so there's a project charge, and then the rest, and for each project, each municipality has been allocated $20,000 each, and that covers the installation, artist fees, any permitting that is part of that process, and signage, which also becomes, and I just, if you have a minute, I can talk to you about what we've done with Fairmont Heights. I had the big poster back there. They are having a mural installation on their Pocket Park, and part of that will cover the Pocket Park, the installation itself, but it's also incorporated and embedded in that is some historical elements from the city, from the town, that is particularly important. So City Hall, Black architects and architecture, and there will be QR codes embedded within the park, but also in the mural site where some of the additional historical facts are also incorporated. And that can include anything. So part of that is the hard cost, but also the softer storytelling part that we would like to elevate and bring out to those visiting these sites.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have one more. You mentioned a December 1st deadline. What is this body deadline to make a decision?
Yeah. So the state, the project funds, we've been strongly advised to encumber them by December 31st. In order to do that, we need to have a site selection located and some type of agreement in place with the property owner that would drive, that would help us encumber the funds. Because when we go back in there, I have to upload all that information into the site, which would allow us to draw down and request those funds. So, and we've been strongly encouraged to not extend the project if we can because of the state budget crisis.
Did that answer? Because we've been on this for quite, want to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Go ahead.
Presented for, not loud enough, that's good right there. It might be for you, Brittany, I'm not sure, but it seems that Sea Pleasant Elementary School came up as part of a different project with ARPA, right? And it met criteria through a different project, not through this plan at first. Is that correct?
So I would say yes and no. For us, this had always been on the site Seat Pleasant activation list because we had several meetings with staff. We did a site visit and tour, and so that was always on the list. The initial project that we submitted was the firehouse, and for the grant, but
Right.
that, like with other jurisdictions. And so when so for us, it's not really an afterthought, which I think this is, it's just that
I
when
wasn't seeing it as an afterthought. I was trying to figure out when in the timeline it came up, because I'm on the timeline slide, and it looks like we did a site visit with staff, a mini tour of Goodwin Park and Fun and Fitness Park.
Yes.
So I'm only asking those questions, not for that reason, but more so because Brittany mentioned an idea around a multi-site feasibility study, which then makes me think, what did we drop the ball on that didn't allow us from 2024, the first tour of those sites, to be able to clear up some of these things if we are
Yes.
in fact trying to make an art plan in the, you know?
Yes, and yes, can I just quickly, yeah, for Seat Pleasant, what is different about Seat Pleasant is that the Neighborhood Design Center, because the Seat Pleasant initial project was a little bit larger, and what the Neighborhood Design Center and also DPW&D, their traffic safety, they are also part of this particular project, which can significantly aid in the community engagement. They do a lot of, Rhonda says that they're probably excited.
They covered a lot of the things that we would have needed to
Yes,
do.
yes,
So they potentially checked the box faster, and
Yes.
so we were essentially unprepared to get the site that we may have wanted to get, but this makes it easy. That's what I'm hearing. Is that
absolutely,
accurate?
yes, yes.
Okay, so then in the multi-site feasibility study for seemingly the future, that would be paid for by this interest in partnering further with staff, which you're seeking today?
In the PowerPoint.
I'm confused.
Oh, yes, yes, yeah.
Can I just address the timeline really quick? So in 2024, when I came in, we were, the council had been working on a sidewalk art project in some sort of way as it relates to ARPA. And as we toured some of those sites, I, along with Mr. Barber, Mr. Harris, and Councilmember Higgs, I think Councilmember McCarthy and Councilmember Scott were there. After we looked at Seat Pleasant Elementary School, that's when we started to show them some of the places in Seat Pleasant. So that's where those other sites started to come in terms of the timeline.
Ms. Drakeford, do we have a dormant art plan in the city?
Do we have a dormant?
Art plan? Do we already have one?
So there are a number of studies from the master plan, the MLK Highway, I believe, revitalization plan, where arts are mentioned in each of those, but we don't have a comprehensive public arts plan.
Thank you. I think I understand enough.
Any other questions? So we had a meeting, few meetings back, and we talked about the activation. Mr. Harris or Ms. Brayford, can you tell us where we are as far as the retainer wall by the Fun and Fitness Park? Because that was kind of where we left off.
So, based on they needed, or they could, their MOU, they wanted the artists, cities out of our hands. Very good part, because we didn't meet last week.
So the problem is that with DPW&T, they work very closely with DPI. And so the process to move forward for the mural would it's like cart horse. We would need to have identified the artist, the types of materials, all those things that allow the permit to be in place. But I will tell you that Rhonda Dallas, our CEO, she was prepared to address this in her presentation, has been working with IRF and actually with the new person to really simplify two processes. One is definitely the how to move forward to simplify the public art strategy process. We have 5 bus shelters, including yours, that we're trying desperately to install. And then the second is to work on permitting for community projects or activations. So that's where we are now, but where that process is, we would not have the approvals in place just because there is a backlog of
Okay,
other
and I think that's
projects.
where the council, we left off, because I even
Yes.
recall Councilwoman McCarthy asked about, in the future, we put a mural down by Seat Pleasant Elementary School, and then years to come, we have to fix something or repave the street or whatever, and it was conversation about who would pay to fix that, who would pay for that at that time.
Yeah, so
And I think those were some of the things that we were looking for to be addressed tonight.
Oh,
And I
yes.
understand that Ms. Dallas couldn't get on, but it didn't really, this presentation really didn't help us make a better decision from where we were before. So I'm kind of want to understand from my colleagues, where are we with this? Does anyone want to make a suggestion, make a motion for something to kind of move this forward? Because we've been on this now for 30 minutes.
I will say that we are responsible and we will work with within the confines for the mural retouching and all of that. That comes from our budget for those projects that we do activate. We do have a fund set aside for retouching and rehabilitation.
Mr. Rayner has his hand up. Councilman Rayner.
Good evening. I'm thinking that you're asking us what we want to do from this point on, correct?
Yes.
I'm making a motion, we go ahead and do the Pleasant Elementary project.
Second.
Any questions, comments? I have a
do have a
question.
comment.
I was going to say the same thing. I have a comment, but go ahead. I'll yield.
So last year, we did explore multiple options, and it appeared that the group, took the one option that they thought was the best and rolled with that one, and then the other ones kind of, were like left off. Like tonight's presentation would have been helpful a long time ago with the breakdown of why the different sites were whatever they are, right? Not at the finish line, because we've spent so much time talking about us wanting the Fun and Fit Park, and you guys saying, oh, well, Seat Pleasant Elementary. We could have had this decision finalized a long time ago, if that had been done. You guys are the experts on this. That's cool. I just hope that in the future, if we work together, that you guys recognize us as the experts on our city and, recognize our community narrative and why we're choosing the sites that we're choosing. Because a lot of what was presented tonight, I won't say a lot, some of what was presented tonight, from my memory, conflicts with what I was told, particularly about the maintenance of the Seat Pleasant Elementary site, which is why I was not for that originally. But there's a motion on the floor, so I won't go too deep into that. I just hope that in the future, we can work better together to recognize everybody's expertise and to have sharper timelines. And I would also like to see the help that you're saying come from DPW. I want to see that in writing, that they're saying they're helping.
I'm sorry, can you clarify, what would you like to see?
So you said that there were 2 other agencies that were willing to help with this project. I just want to make sure that we can get that in writing.
Oh, yes, yes, we definitely have that.
And just for clarification, I just want to make sure whatever the council decides, but I do think, based on our meeting last week, that we should adopt a roadmap to these projects and just have it already in place. So I know that was brought up tonight, but one of the things that I took away from our meeting last week, we kind of talked, was we don't have a roadmap. It's usually project by project, but if we build out this roadmap, working with them, I think we should just have it on paper already. And I think what I would like to see start, we have that roadmap, we could plan, work out, or use, or maybe needed to work on other areas. Did reach out to Councilman McCurney over the weekend, but I didn't get a chance because we were busy. We asked about, that's why I wanted to talk to you in part, but it goes in line with what we're currently doing in DC and how that still. But I would like to see, kind of like what I saw in San Antonio, the roadmap of smart cities, roadmap of our project about the blueprint we already have. I would like.
Do you all provide technical assistance for creating art plans?
Yes,
You do? Okay, that's free?
yes, except for the full impact studies. With that, we use
Sure.
consultants like
Sure.
the Capital Market and NDC to provide.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Are you ready?
Online voting has. This 5-1.
Thank you. I do want to go on record to say, not that I'm in disagreement with this, but once again, something that the council has asked for didn't happen. And I'm not understanding why we get to this place and then we're all up here to make a vote, and the information that's being provided to us isn't being discussed with us until we get here. And it's nowhere near to what we asked for. If we didn't have a study, we didn't have an MOU, we was told that, I was told that the MOU was worked on, that Mr. Barber had found a loophole after loophole, and it's very disturbing to me that when we're asking for something from the city, we should have it and not have to go back and forth. It's so many things that has happened over a year. We still don't have the bus shelter either. So these things, the ball just keep dropping, and we want to make sure we're doing our part, okay? So we do appreciate you. If you could leave whatever it is that you wanted us to see, or if you wanted us to see something, if you want to put it back on the back wall, we can look at it at the end of the meeting from Fairmont Heights, so that we'll have some kind of idea of what's going on. But we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very
Councilwoman
much.
Scott, you had a comment? I want to go on record.
Because initially you voted for the approval, so what's your no?
Okay, we're gonna move on. The next presentation here, so we're gonna move on. Do we have any citizen comments, Mrs. Ball?
We do have, citizens on the line. Let me double check, to see if we received written citizen comments. We do not have any written citizen comments tonight. Citizens, this is your time to speak before the council. If you have comments, please raise your hand.
Someone online?
So no one has
No
raised
one
their
raised their
hand
hand
online?
Okay.
Yes.
Mrs. Riley, you want to say something? You want to come up to the microphone? I know you're part of Ward 1. You can come on up. Thank you for coming out this evening. Always a pleasure to see you.
You can.
You know, I was thinking about Goodwin Park, and I wonder why most of the activities and events are held at Greendale and not at Goodwin. Can somebody tell me why they're not at Goodwin Park?
So Goodwin Park and what we used to call Greendale.
Elementary
school. So since the elementary school has been torn down, they renamed it to the John E. Fagan building, but that building is torn down now. They did a ceremony October the 10th to rename it so that you can see where it was. It's no longer there anymore. But the park itself was always Goodwin Park. So that's why it's there.
Okay.
Yes, that is the main park for the city.
Well, I wonder if we could have a film festival at Goodwin Park.
We can definitely put you in contact with our public engagement manager, and I think she might have just said something briefly, but I couldn't catch. Okay.
Did you? I missed. Can y'all give me?
Well, Ms. Riley,
can't
if you,
just do
if you would
anything in the
love
park.
to, if you would love to work with our public engagement manager, I'm quite sure she would take, whatever information you would be able to provide to help us get it right, because we don't know it all. So we would definitely appreciate anything that you can add to it. We can, you and I can even get together. We can write it up.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming out this evening. Did anyone else raise their hand? No. Thank you all for coming and being a part of this meeting this evening. We're going to move on to our reports. Mayor Porter, you were first up.
Thank you, Madam President. My monthly report for 2025 October is also for education processes in board docs. But I had a meeting with L.A. Perez Consulting on October the 1st. I attended the regular work session October the 6th. Tri-River Civic Association October the 9th. Public session October the 13th. Cornerstone Government Services LLC with Earl Silas on October the 17th. A public hearing for County Executive Brave Boys Department head confirmation on October the 21st. A meeting with the Historic Preservation Commission October the 21st. Weather test call October the 23rd. Joint letter to align with the new CX October the 23rd. Conference training, I attended the MML Fall 2025 conference from October the 12th through the 14th. I also attended the African American Mayors Association Trade Mission to Accra, Ghana from the 26th through the 30th, of which I will provide a detailed format along with pictures of complete presentation. I'm waiting for all the information to come on so I can give a full-fledged presentation to the council and for any identification for any of the citizens that might be interested. I also events were a Fagan's dedication and ribbon ceremony, cutting ceremony on October the 10th. Wanika Fisher campaign launch on October the 21st. and the Sea Pleasant Police Department trunk or treat, October the 31st. That concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor Porter. Does anyone have any questions for Mayor Porter this evening? Thank you so much. Mr. Harris.
Everyone, I'm a little hoarse, but you know, nothing wrong with my mind, so I'm gonna keep going for tonight. My report is certainly in board docs for your review. Some of the things I do want to highlight that some of the department heads will kind of elaborate on over the month was that I had the opportunity to attend the ICMA conference last week, which I will say was amazing. Some of the classes, most of the classes started at like 7 o'clock, Ms. Rhoda, but it was still really good. So I would encourage those who may be interested in attending to look into it. I did list some of the classes that I took, but one of the classes I was able to connect with was strategic planning and implementing your strategic plan. Building a lot of great relationships. Had an opportunity to speak with the deputy city manager over the city of Rockville, who has an extensive background in Montgomery County and implementing their strategic plan. He actually built the program out, and he set me up with quite a few meetings this week and next week to meet different vendors or just look at different cities and how their implementation projects are going and how it aligns with their budget. So it was actually really, really good. We are looking to, as you all aware, the government shutdown has continued, so we're looking to host a potential food giveaway as early as this week. Rachel will come up, who was on leave most of the month, but she'll come up and kind of give some updates on when we can do that for those furloughed workers. I'm looking to do two. So one potentially this week for those furloughed workers who may need some assistance, and then do one large one for the entire city right before Thanksgiving. And so we're in the planning stages now to try to put that together for everyone. And it's last minute, but of course, I kind of mentioned last month, if the government shutdown was to continue, we will have to put something together pretty quickly. Also, I would like for us to revisit, I know that you all saw the email from Leslie about the potential bond bill and the results of that survey. I wanted to get clarification on who needed to fill out that survey because it was sent to me, but I know I did it, and I asked some of the department heads to chime in, but if that was it, I just want to make sure. And there is if we are going along with that project, potentially, there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of meetings we need to kind of set up as of right now with the delegation to talk about Sea Pleasant's, not only our strategic plan, but talk about what our strategy is. And so we need to move pretty quickly to talk about it. I was going to reply to that one email that was sent just to clarify if they wanted us to fill out those forms, or was that something that Greenville was going to do on our behalf. But I'll talk to you, Ms. Hicks, more about it. The Sea Pleasant Firehouse kind of hit a roadblock. I know I was talking about the potential of what that could be. I've asked, me and Mayor Porter have been in several meetings talking about it, and he's going to reach out to the county executive office on next steps. It's my understanding that they may have a plan for the firehouse, but we're requesting that Sea Pleasant kind of be involved to understand what's going on and work in partnership. So the mayor is going to be reaching out to the county executive offices and getting a meeting on the books. And when that comes out, I would encourage anyone who's available to attend. Additionally, our new HR manager, Ms. Brendan, will be starting tomorrow morning. And so we're excited. We are sorry about that. Our former HR manager is still contractual as of right now, and he's going to be transitioning out, but she will be here tomorrow. So I'll be sending out an email on that and her starting. So if anybody has an opportunity, please stop by and visit. Sterling and some of our other staff will take her on a tour tomorrow of the city to meet the department heads and some of the other staff, but she'll get the ball rolling. We've already started the implementation and the training for the employee manual that you all adopted. We already did one set of training, and another one is coming up for all employees, and we're working to get every employee signed to acknowledge that they have taken that training as requested. Other than that, I think the department heads will kind of go into more detail. I don't know if anybody's heard of Food for Maryland. They did reach out to the city. They're a nonprofit associated with Sardis providing hot meals. And so we're gonna line up a meeting this week to see how they can, help us out. It came from the city of Hydesville as a partnership, and they reached out immediately, so I'm gonna have a call set up with them tomorrow to see what that may look like, but I'll keep you all updated through email as that progresses. I'll take any questions. If I don't have any questions, we'll bring our department heads up.
Are there any questions?
Appreciating the conference. Curious to know if we're gonna get some reports or session docs that we can read through regarding the sessions, and also, I'll talk to you offline about the book. But my question is more around the strategic plan. Do we have a copy?
Say that again.
A copy of the strategic plan?
Do we have a copy?
Like, do we have a copy?
Yeah, you adopted it. Should be.
Like, printed out? Do we have, like, are they around? Can residents get them? Can we?
So what I did was, after you all adopted the final copy, we sent it to a graphic designer. So just to make it look more presentable before we post it online. You all have the original copy that was adopted, but I'm hoping in 30 days or so, maybe less. We'll, and Ashley will give an update on that. We wanted to make it look pretty before it's officially posted.
Yeah, I remember we just did the adoption of like content, but like in terms of viewing it and having it accessible.
Yeah, so if somebody was to ask, we'll provide it as it is, but the official will be posted online will look a lot different. That'll be sent to you all before it's posted.
Okay.
Any other questions, or can we go ahead to department head?
EJD?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm gonna keep it brief. For this month of October, DPW, we was completing selective curve trimming. For waste management, we continue the replacement of damaged trash cans for residents. For safety, we was addressing all the hanging wires in the city from the communication lines. And for fleet and inventory, we was getting ready for the fall and the winter. I'll open it up for any questions.
Are there any questions? I do have a question. For the tree trimming, have we got anywhere with that? Because that's still, I know Ward 3 and Ward 1 was kind of hit, but then it stopped at some point. Are they gonna circle back, or are we on a list?
Yeah, so for DPW, what they can do, they've been going through doing a lot of tree trimming. So right now, we want to let all the leaves fall. Then once we address the leaves and you can actually see what we need to trim back, I got a meeting with the tree company coming up this week, and we're going to do another assessment and do the tree. But DPW, that's what they're going to get on right after they finish the leaves.
Okay. Yeah, with the leaves falling, of course, they're just starting to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Will we have a set date, or like they push their leaves to the curb? The city will pick them up, or is it just bag them and put them out?
Because of how big our staff is, I'd rather them do it by the regular rules, which we come pick them up on Wednesdays,
Okay.
bag them out and put them at the curb. And then the ones that DPW would do is just for the areas that we maintain and a lot of leaves for to keep the drains clear.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
The WSSC project.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I talked to WSSC today. They just waiting on a permit from DPI, but it's going to be a lot of construction going on in the city. It's a good thing. They're updating all our storm drains, which on certain streets it's going to be repaving, but they're addressing all the storm drains and all the sewers in the city. So it's an upgrade.
I did receive something in the mail from them. They don't have a date on there for a meeting date, but they say they will. If you hear a meeting date, will you please make sure it gets posted so that residents will know when they're having a meeting? Because people will definitely say they didn't hear it, but I did receive something in the mail. So I'm pretty sure other people did too.
All right.
Thank you. Oh, Councilman Rayner.
I asked Mr. Harris to ask you about a sign on Joplin and Juice Can you give me some type of time that may appear?
Yeah, I did address the sign. I did see the sign was missing. Right now, I'm putting in the order. The sign's got to get specially made with the design, and so it might take a couple more weeks before that sign come in and we put it up.
Thank you, sir. If I get beat up, I'm sending them after you.
I got you.
Thank
Okay, well, I just want to know how we're putting our plans, our strategy together along with WSSC for detours and things of that nature. That's going to be our biggest problem that we're going to have, citizens complaining that they didn't know, as was asked about that. But then again, what's the alternate routes and so forth, how we're setting up things so that those people who will come into contact or be affected by this will know exactly what it is they should do in their movements around the city to get to the major thoroughfares, to get out, to go to work or whatever.
I talked to WSSC today. Like I said, right now they're just waiting on the permit process, and then I guess once they get the information, they'll let us and the police department and NCC know of the actual schedule right now, and they just trying to get their permits together to start the work.
I just want us to be in front of it, okay? We'll be impacted, we're in front of it.
And to be clear, it's not, it does say on the paperwork that I received in the mail, it does say Sea Pleasant, but it's not every street. It specifies streets that they're gonna be working on. I can take a picture of it when I get home and send it to you.
Yeah, I
because
mean,
it's-
I printed out a list.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
almost, it's a lot of streets.
It's a lot of streets,
Yeah.
but when you really look at it, it's, the way they saying it, from what I read, they're gonna go in sections.
Yeah.
So like on Fresno, they're not gonna be worrying about on my side, in Ward 1, you know what I'm saying? So they're gonna be moving from different areas, all throughout the city, it's true. But I know Dry Log's on there, 71st Avenue, all of that is on there, but at the same time, I don't think they're gonna just shut down like Addison Road, you know what I mean? It's gonna be where they're gonna have specific places, and I don't think that it should be solely on the city. WSSC is eating this cost, right? So they should have to put out the notifications and to make sure that the residents know. But yes, we can be ahead of it, and if we have certain information, let's put that information out so that the residents will be aware, because we will definitely hear we didn't hear about it, or they didn't see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to stay on top of it because of like the stormwater issues. I don't know if they're gonna be cutting the water off, so
Right.
I do wanna let the residents know what areas they're gonna be in. So I guess once they get their permitting, I'll just make sure I keep calling and stay on top so we can at least let the residents know that they're working on a drain, or some of it said pipe, so they might do cut some water off.
Right.
So we gonna stay on top of it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I did have one
Go
question.
ahead, Councilman Jones.
So when they finish the work, does that mean they're gonna repave the street?
So when the list I got, some of the streets do say repave, some say not. I guess it depends on if it's a actual drain or a sewer. So I guess like if it's a storm hole, they gotta remove it, they is gonna repave. So some of the streets got repavement, some of the streets don't.
So some of the streets that were on our list to be repaired, we won't maybe have to do those streets, maybe.
I mean, when they do it, they're gonna do a patch. So
Oh, they're not
we
gonna do
still
the
gonna
whole
have to
area
do
that
the street.
they-
Yeah, we not gonna leave it like just a patch.
I think once they set the meeting, long as somebody from the city can be there, I'm quite sure you would know when they set the meeting. The meeting has to happen first. Get their permits, tell us how they're gonna start working. They'll give you the information, we'll get the information out as best as possible on our end. I think that's the best way to work, because when you get the mail, it didn't give you a whole lot for those that did receive it. It wasn't set in stone that this is how it's happening, so we're just
Yeah,
kinda waiting
I
on
was
it.
in talks with the contractor today, because they contracted it out as well with WSSC, so I know it's a big job, because it ain't just them. They also got another company, that I talked to today that's contracted with.
Any other questions, comments? Lights.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about the lights? I'm constantly calling Pepco. What are they gonna do about these lights?
Yeah, we doing the best we can. We've been putting in the orders. What I can start doing, if you would like me to, on my monthly, I can just make on the safety department list all the work orders and the numbers and everything that we do when we report the street light.
Okay,
I know right now, on the top of my head, we did almost 18 to 20 Verizon calls. to get a lot of the wires fixed. Verizon has been helping us out, and me and her talked about making the city look better without all these hanging wires. So we have been getting on them real bad about the wires, and Verizon been doing a good job letting us know if it's them or Comcast. They've been working with the city. And so we just trying to get Pepco to move a little faster as well.
Yeah, there's quite a few lights in the city when you ride through, and I'm calling them in. I'm quite sure other people are calling them. I know residents are calling them, but when it's 4 lights out, it's dark.
Yeah.
And we got all kinds of animals running around that we didn't have before, so you want to be able to see and letting that be known as well. There's foxes, there's, you know, all kinds of stuff that's running around, so we want to be careful so that people have lights, or even tell them to turn their porch lights on so that you know, have a little bit of more light, a little more light in the neighborhood. Thank you.
No problem.
Offline, I'll pass you a contact that I have for Pepco that definitely in Ward 3, get all my lights on. So I'll pass the contact info.
Okay, I would appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I didn't see you.
Sorry. Mr. Barber, first of all, thank you for your report. And I'm looking at you maintaining 90% completion on the work orders. Can I just hear if safety is the same thing as calls for service? Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, are you finding something specific with like the 10% outstanding? Is it the same types of things that we're not completing? Is there like a backlog of a specific thing that we're unable to do?
What I will say, over the years, now that we've been on them and we've been making calls with safety, they've been taking us serious, and they've been helping us a lot. So the only people that we kind of, like that 10%, it might be Pepco. But when it comes to Comcast and it comes to WSSC and everybody, they've been getting
So it's the same, it's the same in every time?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I don't want to miss anybody. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Harris, who's next?
Finance.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My report is in board doc. I'm going to really sort of summarize the report. I had a meeting, a kickoff meeting with Edmund GovTech to start the Eighth Road Finance setup implementation. The meeting went well. We talked about the whole project phase, what's expected of the city, and I provided them information concerning the finances processes that's already been provided to them. We do have our next meeting on November the 14th at 2 p.m. One thing that Councilmember Kearney had asked about in the email, they will be transitioning information from QuickBooks for 4 years plus the current year. And so we will have more than 3 years. Typically, you want to have at least 3 years of data for trend analysis, so we have more than that. So that would be sufficient. The second item on my report is the City Council Resolution R26.04, which was a resolution requiring the Chief Financial Officer to submit financial reports to the City Council on a monthly basis. When I did get an opportunity to read the resolution, I did have several comments in which I included in my report. One thing, there does need to be a correction because the resolution talks about a city treasurer, which the city has a CFO. Secondly, in section 1, it talks about a balance sheet. And when I read the resolution, I think I really sort of clarify the types of financial statements that the city receives on this audit. The city receives what we call a statement of net position, which includes summary totals of assets, liabilities, as well as equity. When I read the resolution, it referenced detailed information. The financial statements do not include detailed information. Those informations are included in the footnotes. It does give you summary totals for your various cash accounts or your various receivable accounts. It would also list any fixed assets, net, any depreciation expenses. It dropped down to liabilities where you have your current liabilities, and typically your current liabilities will include accounts payable. It would include payroll, because we usually have current payroll as well as other account liabilities. Then it goes into net asset. Net asset does not include a fund balance, this particular statement. The net asset includes restricted and unrestricted funds. And so I wasn't quite clear as to what the council was expecting there. And then the second report that you receive in your audited financial statement, they call it a balance sheet, but it's a governmental fund balance sheet. And a governmental fund balance sheet does not include any long-term liabilities. It only includes current assets and current liabilities. And so I would need some additional clarification with regard to what is the city council looking for with regard to this monthly financial statements. A statement of net position is not issued on a monthly basis. That statement is issued at the end of the calendar year or the end of the accounting period. Our accounting period ends June 30. And so we would be able to issue draft financial statements at the end of a calendar of the fiscal year. And so there is some additional clarification that I would need with respect to that. Because if we were to issue monthly statement of financial position, I'm assuming that would be the statement you're referencing, that statement would not give you current balances. It would not be accurate, because when we issue a statement of net position, we have to accrue a lot of information at the end of the year to make sure that the assets as well as the receivables are correct. I listed some of the accrual, we call it adjusting journal entries. We have to accrue payroll. We have to accrue annual leave that's outstanding that the city owes to the employees. We have to accrue accounts receivable, revenue that the city received 3-4 months after that particular fiscal year. We have to accrue that back to that fiscal year because it relates to that particular fiscal year. So there are a lot of adjustment entries that we have to do in order for any type of statement, particularly the statement of net position, where that statement will show an accurate position as to the assets, the liability, as well as the equity for the city. The resolution also talked about a monthly purchase requisition report. Expenditures are not tracked by purchase requisition. The purchase requisition and the invoices are only the source documentation that authorizes finance to incur that expenditure. What we are able to capture, in which I provided 2 sample reports, which talks about the monthly disbursement register. I attached 2 types of reports that may address some of the concerns that you may have. And these 2 reports, one was the QuickBook monthly ACH disbursement report. Those are just expenditures that are automatically deducted from the bank account. We know where they are. That report is available. We also attach a Bill.com fund transfer detail report. Those are the expenditures that are actually being processed through Bill.com, which automatically rolls up into the accounting system. And so you can let us know which one of those reports may address your concern concerning the monthly disbursement register. One thing I do want to emphasize that when purchase requisitions are processed in Bill.com, all of the transactions are synchronized to QuickBooks. But when the information goes over to QuickBooks, it goes over to QuickBooks as a journal entry, which means it will list the account number and names and the amount and give an explanation. And so the detailed information is not available in QuickBooks. And one thing I also want to emphasize, we do not track check numbers. Payments are made through checks, ACH, as well as credit cards. And so, we just need some additional information as to what it is, the council might be looking for. And I am going to recommend that I talk with Councilwoman Love about a finance and budget committee meeting so we can further discuss this and probably come up with some alternative suggestions for the council. The third item I want to emphasize, the state is doing an evaluation of speed monitoring system. We've been working with the police department. Finance has been asked to provide gross revenues collected for citation. We provided that on the fiscal year basis. Payments made to vendor, administrative costs, and distribution of net revenue. We have provided that information to the police department, and we are scheduled to have a meeting this week. My concern is the distribution of net revenue. The city, at the end of fiscal year 24, had $5,427,000 at the end of fiscal year 24. At the end of fiscal year 25, there was a net revenue of $4,556,000. And so a question may be raised as to what is the city going to use with its money that's currently sitting in the account? And so that's one thing when we talk to the police department, we want to talk about what kind of answer we want to have for the state as they continue to do the evaluation of the speed monitoring system. We prepare the highway user revenue report. At the end of the fiscal year, finance is involved in preparing a lot of fiscal year reports. One is the highway user revenue report, where we reported that we were only able to identify just a little over $42,000 in expenditures to go against the highway user fund. So when we completed that report, we ended up now with a $481,000 highway user fund reserve that we had set up that can be used over a 10-year period. We did provide the city manager as well as Mr. Barber an outline of various types of expenditures that can be incurred so that hopefully next year or in this fiscal year and even going forward, that they may be able to start to use some of these funds. The police department has to submit an annual report, which they call the SMS, Speed Monitoring Report. And that's the report that measures whether or not the city received more than 10% of the revenue in the speed camera funds. I identified in the report that the total revenues that we reported in that report was $12,852,000. The total monitoring system fines collected was $5,167,000. The cost of implementing and administering the speed monitoring system was $4,509,000. So the net speed monitoring system revenue was $658,000. I'm just rounding, which means that the 10% of revenue, our net speed monitoring revenue came in less. So the city did not have to report anything to the state or make any payment. In the last, close to the next item, the FY24 audit, that audit is going well. We received the last audit sample from the auditors, and so we're looking to start moving towards bringing that to a close with regard to getting draft financial statement. I will be meeting with them sometime this month. We missed our meeting last month due to various emergencies, but I will be meeting with them with regard to that. And the last item, we have some other activities. Council Member McCurney asked us to look at the 941 quarterly. There was a 941 that was submitted October 31st. We reviewed that, and there are no discrepancies. No discrepancy. And that's usually the case, because when you're dealing with a payroll company, they make sure those reports are accurate. I did receive a request to review a draft recommendation for contractual services and purchasing best practices. I did review that and provide my comments to the city clerk. The total bank balance, as you see on page 4, $6,763,000. Other revenues came in. The city got its first chunk of real estate taxes, almost $1.5 million. We did get that grant, which was presented at the last meeting from Legit. The grant came in from Cal Ripken Foundation at that $3,017, and we got $1,000 Up Life Alliance Maryland 250 grant. So that did come in this way. Property taxes that we have collected for October, $93,328. Total expenditures, we broke out online payments. We pay a lot of the utility bills online. And so we identified them in this report for Pepco and T-Mobile, that $9,411. Total expenditures that were paid through Bill.com, as you see on page 7, $164,351, as well as other expenditures, which we like to make sure that we identify when we make a payment for the credit card, that we include that as well on other expenditures. So I will stop and see whether or not you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Logan. Are there any questions for finance? John?
Just 2 questions. The Cal Ripken Senior Grant, do you know what that was for?
It's for the police department. That's for Cal.
Oh,
program.
great. And what can we use the highway user funds for? Is it just for road repair, or do you know?
Oh, it includes a number of items. I can provide you that information. It's very intensive, and I think we miss opportunities.
We receive that once a year, or how?
Payments come in throughout the year.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are in the we did submit that report, and so they said that for FY25, the city have received $222,000. And here again, this is an example where we had to look and see, well, we didn't receive $222,000 in fiscal year 25. But when we contacted the state sent additional monies in August and September that relate back to fiscal year 25.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
McCurney.
And thank you for your report, Ms. Logan. Real quick on 2C Section 3, monthly purchase requisition report. I know you said you don't do those monthly, it's just a matter of having documentation on file for approvals and invoices, correct?
I'm sorry, which one are you referencing?
Monthly purchase requisition reports.
There is no monthly requisition report.
You were responding to the legislation and speaking about what we don't have?
We do not.
Item.
The purchase requisitions do not have numbers to them.
I
Yeah,
understand.
so there is nothing to generate, is what I'm saying.
I understand.
Mhm.
I'm naming that section so you can know what I'm referencing.
Mhm.
Okay. So on that section, you were mentioning that we only do that in terms of having invoices on file, right? To go along with a purchase request. Just documentation.
Yes, in order to make the payment, we have to have that, yes.
Do you know to date, for this period, how many of those PRs were approved and had documentation on file, accurate documentation on file?
If you look at the report that's in my report for Bill.com, these are all of requisitions that were processed in October.
What you're doing in some of the sections is you're giving a statement and you're saying, here's the impact of that. Since the net speed monitoring, yada, 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 was less than 10%, no funds were due. So I know that you want me to go line by line, and I'm obviously gonna have to do that, right? But I'm simply asking for the so what of a section. But we can move forward. I think I
Yeah.
would like to follow up on what Mr. Jones was saying, Councilmember Jones, in terms of like what the funds could be used for. I understand it's a lengthy list. I know we just did something at MML, but if we could just know what it can be used for and what has it been used for in the system, because in the city, you said there's a lot of missed opportunities. So I'm just curious, not right now, but if we could just get, and I can set up a chat with you about it, about what you mean by that.
And I would actually, when I send the report to Councilmember Jones, I'll include the whole council members. Yes, because we had to contact the state to see how we can better use the highway user funds, so that information was helpful.
And I think the last thing I just wanted to mention, and I can follow up with you, but essentially, the last time we had the reports, and I think this was awesome, by the way, it's better than before, we talked about allocations that we have budgeted compared to what has been spent, and then this time last year, right? Same time previous year. And so I know that we needed time to get there. I'm just putting that back on the radar. Is that something that I'm saying I would like to see?
Actually, we already have those reports. We're sending those reports out to the departments. We've already have actual to budget for FY25. And those reports, we've been working on that for the last couple of weeks because the departments need those reports in order to start looking at the next budget cycle. So we'll be more than happy to send either a summary or what we call a profit loss statement that would include total revenues by the various budget items as well as expenditures and actual, budget to actual. We can send that to the council.
By the call center, yeah, that's what I'm asking. But I'm saying,
Okay.
like, I know you're gonna send a separate email. I'm just saying, can we, at some point, give your capacity, start to incorporate that here? So I just want it in one place, please.
We can give you that.
Okay, thank
You know,
you.
just a comment, finance is now able to give you more current data. Finance has been working from behind to catch up, you know, with the audits to get current. We are, I would say, actually, we're current because we're already prepared for the FY25 audit. And we're already recording and doing bank reconciliation on a monthly basis and recording FY26 data.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
So
And I
so
do
we've
believe
been
it,
working hard to
but we see
try
it.
to get to what we know the council needs in order to make sound decisions.
But, Mr. Harris, I think this is for you in terms of like, we talked about the monthly report and just like structure. I know we talked about more time, do it in December, but I just want to reiterate like what I'm asking to be incorporated in the financial one. That could just be considered.
Any other questions?
Absolutely. So thank you for your reports. You know, number 2 was very detailed in regards to Resolution R-26-04 that was approved by the council. I really wish that this attention to detail was consistent in all things that come out of the finance department. The amount of time that was taken to pick apart this piece of legislation could have been used to create the documents needed to give what we're asking for. In addition, the Finance Committee was asked to be a part of these conversations, and there was no response.
You said the Finance Committee or the CFO, because we were not, I was not informed of the discussion.
I'm not.
Okay,
Thank
so,
you.
yeah, so.
And in regards to the termination, terminology, I heard that, and that can be fixed easily, but regardless, what we're asking for doesn't change. You know, like if you're saying, oh, it says treasurer, CFO, you still know it's you. So
I'm sorry, I understand
you
that,
spent a
yes.
long time, talking about this, so I want to, I was quiet and I just want to, say what I have to say. We're asking for this because what we're being given now is not working. You can read the report and you understand it because you work with those numbers every day. So the list that comes out of Bill.com, you get it because you know what it is. There's a reason why we're asking for what we're asking for. We didn't just one day say, you know what, let's make the finance department's life harder because that's what we like to do. That's not what happened. And so.
And if I can just
I'm-
interject
No.
Okay, because
No.
I just wanted to.
I'm not, no.
Okay, I'm sorry, because I wanted to
No.
just interject one thing as you.
And I'm not done, so
I
if you
understand
could.
that. Mhm.
Correct. I don't want to do the Olympics when I'm trying to understand your report. And that's what's happening. We're asking for specific information that I know you can provide. It may not be in the format that you would like it to be in, but we're not asking you for something that's so astronomical. So I think it's unfair that you took your time and city resources to pick apart what you didn't think worked when you could have just been a team player and decided, you know what, they're asking for this, we don't do that, but here's how we could do it. You've came here and you've asked for staff time after time after time, increases and all of the things, while we still on the other end get reports that are not the same every month or that have the same quality every month. The budgets are always what they are, but you get the things that you need to make your. I just ask that you find a way to make it work. If you find that what we're asking cannot be done, then come back. I feel like it was an automatic response as opposed to seeing how it could work, right? If you tried it out for a month or two and then you were like, you know what, this isn't working, that would have been different, right? That wasn't the approach. And it's disappointing because whenever you come with your expertise, we say, you know what, let's help you out. And we're not getting the same effort from you, and that's disappointing. I will get with the finance chair again to discuss the components of this and why it's important. Because maybe that part was missed, but I want to be very clear that we are the legislators and that you're the staff. And so we make the law and you carry it out.
And I understand that completely, and I think had I been among the discussion, I could have made recommendations to you at that time before you actually got to a resolution. That's what I'm saying. And had I been at the table, I would have suggested this type of board-type report that can satisfy your concerns. I could clearly hear what your concerns are. I was not given that opportunity. And so consequently, hopefully going forward, that if you do have a concern, please have me in the conversation so I can tell you, this is professionally what's done. I can hear your concern, and we can pull together our team and see how can we pull together reports for you. The two reports that we provided for you, the county manager and I sat down and said, well, how can we pull some information? He had to manipulate the system in order to pull in that information. And so I just would encourage you that if you have any concern, please, when it comes to finance for the city, the CFO really should be in the discussion so that we can give you, this is what our profession requires, this is what you want done, this is how we can provide, and see whether or not we can address that ahead of time. And so we definitely will look and see what we can do on behalf of the council. Any other questions?
Ms. Logan, would the new software system that we're going forward with, will that make it easier or allow you to provide the information that we're looking for, the new software that we're going to?
Well, you talked about the various reports, and we can give you the budget reports. If you're talking about a net statement of net position, giving that on a monthly report, that's not done on a monthly report. You're not going to get accurate information because that information talks about the equity of an organization. This net assets is cash and liability and the equity. That part is usually done on an annual basis because we have to make adjustment so that it can be accurately presented.
That's just an example of something that's annual, but you can't get it to us on a month.
No, because that requires a lot of work.
Oh.
It requires a lot of work because we have to make adjustments. We have to make accrual adjustments, looking at expenditures that were not incurred in that particular month, but they were actually paid in other months. We have to look at revenue. Our revenue, the city's revenue doesn't always come in the same month. It may come 2 or 3 months later. So we have to look out 2 or 3 months later and accrue that back to that particular month or year. That's what I'm saying. That's why a statement of financial position is not done on an annual basis, on a monthly basis, but on an annual basis, because you have to make the accrual adjustments to bring up the assets as well as the revenues.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Very brief report because public engagement was not here for most of the month. But I did want to highlight a couple things. Most importantly, we have a new team member on the public engagement department. She is actually an apprentice through the Maryland Apprenticeship Program. So I'm really excited about that. I just got an email yesterday or today, maybe earlier today. So we'll be highlighted on the governor's website as being a part of the apprenticeship program. So that's really exciting. Additionally, we participated in a couple meetings with Central High School. This month, they have a November attendance challenge, and so we'll be supporting them. Right now, their attendance rate is at about 71%. They have a goal this month to get to at least 80%. And I'm not sure how many people up here are educators. I had no idea that this meant, like, right now there are 16 attendance days in the month of November, and so they have most students missing about 4 to 5 days per month, right? So we'll be supporting Central High School. They're having like a big assembly. They'll be doing a raffle and giving gift cards to some of the students that are able to meet that attendance rate. Those were the two big things for public engagement. If you go on the Flickr, all the updated pictures from the Fagan dedication and ribbon cutting and also the trunk or treat are on our Flickr. So. Any questions?
I do. I have a request. I definitely recognize that the month of October was, you know, what it was, and I thank you for what you were able to get done. I just ask that in your November report that you include the things, that you write down the things from October, so that if somebody is going online to look at the reports, they may not see this recording of you giving an update, but they can see online the actual update. You know what I mean?
For sure. Absolutely.
Other than that, I guess this goes for both of you guys, you and public safety, trunk or treat was a success, so.
We barely supported, that was definitely public safety, so kudos.
Okay, I'll repeat that when they come up, sorry.
Any other?
Question I have, thank you. Welcome back. I know you were, so, well, it's good to have you back.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You mentioned about the students, okay, and attendance rate, tardiness or absenteeism. I'd be concerned with how that compares to other schools when they made their projections and to try to get a beat on exactly
Yeah,
what it is.
that's a
may
great
be-
question.
Yeah.
I just learned a little bit about that. Right now, Baltimore City, which is the lowest, is at about 61%. So just to kind of give you a comparison, so the lowest right now of any county is 61%. So I can give you more research on that too.
Okay. All right. I can ask additional questions regarding that, but once you get that to me, I'd like to hear that because I'll look at what programs as compares to other things that I've been running into to talk to you about that, to enhance some programs through the schooling system.
Okay, got it. And then the last thing that I wanted to update in terms of the strategic plan, so I have been working with a graphic designer to put it online and then also to have more of a simplistic display that we can post up that kind of goes through the strategic plan because I believe it's like almost 30 pages. So we're working with having something creative, but also having something simple that anybody can kind of walk up and understand, so. Oh, and then the food giveaway is planned right now for Thursday at 11:30 a.m. It'll be at Goodwin Park. This particular food giveaway will only be for federal workers that have been furloughed that are residents of the city of Seat Pleasant. And I believe we'll have about 200 boxes to give away.
Do they have to? That's what I was about to say.
Yes, so we put on the flyer that'll be posted tomorrow that you have to show ID, proof of furlough, and then proof of residency in Seat Pleasant. And it's first come, first serve.
First come, first.
Yes. Any other questions?
Are there any other questions for the assembly at Central High School? Do you have a date?
Assembly?
You said
Oh,
they were-
no, I haven't been given the date for that yet, but I will put it on the staff assistant's calendar for her to let you all know.
Okay, that'd be helpful, because I was over there and I did communicate with one of the counselors there, so I would love to be able to go
Attend.
over when, yeah.
Sure, absolutely. All right.
Good evening. How are you all? You all have my report in board docs. It is extremely lengthy, but there are a couple of things that I do want to highlight. Again, we're continuing to see a decline in crime. 22.2% was the decline for the month of October. Like Mr. Harris said, he went to ICMA. I sent a couple of staff members to ICMA to try to bring back some creative ideas as it pertains to us implementing our portion of the strategic plan. There was some brilliant ideas and information that was brought back that we look forward to trying to implement to assist the city. On the 15th, we met with MDOT in reference to their updates for the Central Avenue corridor. There were some things that I learned that I wasn't really aware of, but these updates pertain mostly between, or this only applies to between Garrett A. Morgan and Southern Avenue. Right? They let us know that at some point last year they had did a survey to community members in reference to what was some of their concerns about Central Avenue. I told them this was the first that I heard of it, and I don't think anybody here at the city had heard about it either. So they are going to be doing another like community forum sometime in January that they plan on giving us information so we can come out and bring our stakeholders out as well to discuss with them about some of the changes we want to see to Central Avenue, as well as resend out the survey so that we can then send it out to our residents so they can have a better opportunity to participate. Some of the things that their survey was saying, I just don't feel as if it was, if it took into consideration our residents and our stakeholders and what their concerns were, right? One of the biggest things was, on their survey was a bike lane on Central Avenue. I don't know about you all, I travel Central Avenue every day. You couldn't catch me riding a bike on Central Avenue. So where they got that information from or what people participated to bring that in there, and one of the lowest concerns was speed. So I told them it doesn't make sense. So I look forward to bringing that back up, and then they will then come to the council and provide a presentation to the council on what they plan on doing to the Central Avenue corridor. If you see inside the monthly report, there's our NCC department has continuously been very proactive and very busy within the city. I'm very pleased with the work they've done. I don't know if, I know I sent you all a lot of emails last month, but I don't know if I sent you the email that last month was National Code Enforcement Month. So I did recognize our staff, but I do want to make sure that the council know that last month was National Code Enforcement Month, and that we are very proud of the work that they're doing and that they continue to do. One thing that was added to this month's report was a real estate transaction, which shows that there were 6 properties sold within the city last month. We're going to try to keep that going continuously throughout our reports so we understand that what the real estate situation is looking like within the city, especially as we continue to report on vacant properties and vacant lots that we notice in the city. So that information is in there. Next thing is about automated enforcement. We have signed a finalized contract with the new vendor. So we are working to finalize the implementation dates and process and work on the processes of the switch to ensure that we don't have any lapse. At the same time, we're working on a campaign which we have declared to be the Modern Enforcement for a Safer Tomorrow, which is going to be our abilities to try to get out and educate the community, educate these drivers, and do everything that we can do to drive down the numbers that we continue to see for speed violators, as well as getting the information over to our partners as well to try and curb some of these crashes and some of these speed violators. As far as some notable incidents, I know you all seen the email from October 1st, and we've had discussions on this like 3 or 4 times. But the homicide suspect that my officers were able to identify and apprehend within 45 minutes of a shooting that happened on the county side of Sea Pleasant Drive, as well as I sent you all an email about the conviction of Ms. Brown, who was convicted of shooting her 13-year-old daughter last year, that our department played a critical portion of, and we are hopeful that this child makes a full physical recovery as well as a mental health recovery. That pretty much sums up my report. If you have any questions, I have all the answers for you.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Mr.
John? Oh.
Going back to what you were saying about MDOT, I don't know if you had the opportunity to attend. The State Highway Administration was over at Central High School
Several months back, and they were talking about also bike lanes. So are they working together on the changes of Central Avenue, or how does that work? I believe that's just was the location that they had the meeting at that time. It's not necessarily them partnering with the school in reference to it. I think bike lanes is something that is on the state's mind as what we see is the Blue Line corridor coming through, trying to revitalize the area, knowing that towards the end of East Capitol Street, it switches into DC. DC has bike lanes there, and they're trying to make it conducive. So as you flow into DC, it's almost a one-way thing, but I don't believe that it's necessarily directly related to Central High School.
I just had one other question. Have the new rate for speeding kicked in yet?
Yes, that went into effect by the governor October 1st.
So,
Not a C Pleasant rate.
We are going to be, we have to update our ordinance because currently our ordinance says $40. So I'm just waiting for the language, work with our automated enforcement vendor to make sure that the language is proper. Then we'll be getting it over to the public safety full council.
thank
How you doing, Hayward?
Bless, thank you.
Thank you for your report. One thing that I appreciated about seeing your learnings from the conference is they're very actionable in terms of like what the session is allowing you to do for your team to do for the city. And so I think I want to emulate that even for reports that I'm going to give Councilmember Higgs. But I'm on the part at the bottom where you were talking about transparency and trust from residents have increased based on your Safer Tomorrow or something like that campaign. How do we know that?
There may be a typo. That's the goal of the program, is to increase transparency and public trust.
Oh, okay. He's about to make me think you had a best practice.
I wish.
I have a NCC question. I'm looking at the, municipal infractions. I see that 17 were issued, but only 3 were paid. Is this a common reoccurrence that we issue more than we receive payment?
Well, at times, we do issue them out, but it depends on when they pay. We give them a time frame to pay. If they don't pay in that time frame, and then we escalate that to court hearings. So what'll happen is if you don't pay that fine, it gets forwarded to court, and then we have to wait for the court date.
Can we make sure just we're tracking that, just to look at trends so we know how to address policy moving forward?
Yeah.
Did I do it right? Okay.
So I would say that that's part of our lien process as well, is because, of course, if you don't make a payment or you don't go to court or you don't pay the judgment from the court, you then put liens on the property. So all that it is accounted for, but I guess a better way of putting it out.
I'm just trying to figure out, right, like what we can do to make sure that people are paying, right? Like ultimately, it's not, these things are not in place just to generate money from people, which most people think it is. Like we want our neighborhoods to look good, we want them to be safe, right? So at the end of the day, if we could make people fix things without charging them, that would be ideal, but it's just not, it's not a thing.
And
so
a lot
I'm
of
just trying
times
to
what we
figure
see
out-
with some of these violations is that the people that are not paying them are not necessarily residents, and sometimes it's owners who own property but don't necessarily have real stakeholdership within the city, as well as we don't just, like, finding someone is not the first option. That's typically option 3 and 4 after we've had communications, sent letters, had talks with people, and then we are at the final resort of citation. So when we see like 17 citations issued, you think about all the legwork that has been done prior to that. Some of those are businesses as well that try to eliminate that possibility.
So and this is just my wheels turning, because I want to make sure you're included in this. When folks have to renew their licenses, that yearly license, can we possibly make it a requirement that they have to attend 1 or so listening sessions where we, give the full spiel about what's required in the city?
I think it's possible, as well as when we talk about the beautification for businesses, and it's something that we brought up in the Public Safety Committee a couple of times on what is going to be our expectation for businesses to uphold their property to. And once we get a clarifying position on that, then it'll be important that we hold business owners to that. We have these opportunities for them to come out, discuss it, but also understand this is where we stand, and we're not going to be issuing business licenses if you aren't able to keep up your property to the standards that the city has.
Councilmember Scott, can we explore, you know, requiring these businesses or people who register their vacant properties to come into at least one listening session, or even if it's virtual, because some of them don't live in the area, one listening session, so they know the requirements. I mean, we have our laws, but everybody doesn't go and look at the you know, the code. But if we're presenting it to them, that way we're doing our due diligence to make sure they know what we expect. Can we put that on the agenda for public safety? Okay, I didn't want to make sure. Thank you.
No other questions? Bless your hearts. Have a great one. Thank you.
So, it included, it included my, conference. The major course there was in it. But he stressed the, you know, trying to work on your strategic. He did ask for a show of hands during the that had 40 people in it. How many students there? Less than half had one. Of course, I was able to go like that. So he emphasized working that strategic. Just don't let it sit on the shelf. And that was the theme of a course that the chief took. He emphasized that your meetings, our meetings, your meetings should focus on that strategic plan. It's there for us to use, and ours is broken down in quarters, and we have our pillars to work from, and so we should just work from that document going forward, especially in our meetings. They don't need to be lengthy, they just need to be focused on those elements in that plan and where we want to go with the city on them. So it was really great. First item on my report, talked about the real estate RFP. We got 2 bids. Closing date was the 31st. Our review period will be from the 1st to the 7th of this month, and we'll make a decision next month. So we're looking forward to that. Thanks to Councilmember McCarthy, we submitted 2 more Maryland 250 grants because they said they had a surplus and nobody was applying for it. So we went on and applied for 2 more. So we're waiting to hear about that. During the Maryland National Capital Program Plan and Open House, they mentioned that there was going to be a municipal grant writing workshop that they were going to have for a few municipalities, not 1, 2, or 3, but a small group, so that they could focus on tailoring their training toward what was needed for each of the municipalities that will be going to the class. So we will be at the table. We got a notice today. So we'll be in that class. What else? And we're working on a street repair grant for Gregg Street. Do a portion of it. You know how raggedy that street is, and on the north side of it. So we're working on getting that. I don't know if there's anything else you all have questions about that's on the report. Oh, we had a meeting with County Councilwoman Oriata about our project charge plan. As you know, we got notice, first notice was that we got the $100K, but it was actually going to an organization known as the Community on the Front Line on behalf of Seat Pleasant. So they will actually be doing the legwork, and they asked for our input. It was a very interesting meeting, to say the least. Councilwoman McCarthy County Councilman Oriata and a representative from Community on the Front Lines, we were all on a meeting to discuss what we had submitted. Now, our understanding was that the emails that we got said, well, we would like to know what you feel that you need, or what would you like to see done. So we went from there and we submitted 3 options, or 3 plans, or 3 projects. I don't know how I felt about the way we were reacted to that, but 3 that we submitted, we felt good about it. So Councilwoman Oriata is supposed to be talking with Community on the Front Lines to see which ones we can work on successfully, whether we do all 3 or 1 or 2 or whichever one. One of them, that was near my heart, was a Hispanic community outreach program. Some, not just to have, to potentially have them as ambassadors in each ward, but to have them coming to this building to potentially do that outreach, starting from here. They walk past here and this building may seem unapproachable, and we definitely don't want that. So potentially maybe working from this building, outreaching that way. That was just one idea. Some of the others were the other one was the intergenerational collaboration with a young person and an adult from each ward to do several things together during the course of the 1 year that we have to complete this program. And another one was a mental health initiative of some kind. So hopefully I haven't heard back from them, so I'm gonna have to reach out to them because the program started July 1st. They have a new administration, and so they're gonna be doing better, but we're already in October, so the program period is already halfway in. We're waiting to see what they have planned for us in the time that we have left. Right. Question?
I just want to make note that the project part, the breakdown, each of those initiatives are expansions of something that's already happening in the city. So with the intergenerational, that is a play on the technology with seniors and the initiatives that public engagement is currently doing with school and the Hispanic ambassadors as well. I don't know if you recall when we were reviewing the job descriptions for the public engagement jobs. One of them had a focus on the Hispanic population, and so that piece of the project charge is an expansion of that. And then the third thing, the mental health, is just an expansion of the social work intern program. So all things are, stuff that has been brought to the council before, that either didn't get the proper funding or, just didn't take off. And so I wanted to make sure that that was clear. Pulled into those. Go ahead.
Ms. Rhoda, thank you. I'm not going to ask you a question to go deep into your report, but I appreciate the class summary for the third places, the session that you did, where the turkey trot in the park is intentional, not only connected to the reading initiative, but also to highlight safety, and the staff has given a lot, and the city council has given a lot of input on that. We were able to get the county representative to come out, but I'm naming that because in that walk, they mentioned $2 million in improvement funds that need to be advocated around. That is going to be investments around that park, and I think that this third place is connected to some of that. So I just like to stay connected.
Okay. No.
Are there any other questions, comments?
McDonald's is our kind of, when the chief did what was that? That is a third place type of event. Be considered a third place type of event. Or type of activity. So we have to embrace whatever pots we have a place that we have that can promote community engagement and make it substantial and recognized by people in the community so it can become a safe third place or a recognized third place.
After reading your comments on the brownfield, seems like
Oh, Lord.
it's going nowhere.
Well, I'm not gonna say it's not going anywhere, but it's not going anywhere fast. You all are trying to get the county to recognize our master plan. Of course, it wasn't in the 2035 secular plan, but right now, they're trying to pass some things on the secular plan that they're having trouble doing because they don't have a quorum right now. So it's on hold anyway. But the brownfield is, I mean, you can look at it as a pan. The front of it, Addison Roadside, is like the handle of it. Then going back down toward Sugar Shack, all that back there is considered the pan itself. And that's the area that they're calling a Class 3 dump, as you can see on there. You know, all brownfields are dumps. What are you talking about? So they're calling it a lemon property because any development would have to have all that fill taken out and replaced. And a developer, most developers aren't going to want to incur that cost. But the big picture, which you have to look at it as it relates to the Blue Line corridor. I mean, with the Epiphany and Park Place, you don't want this big dump site in there, but it's just going to take so much time to get new zoning for it. It's just a process that needs to get started. That's because even the Blue Line corridor development completed. So by the time perhaps that's done, brownfield can have a new zoning because it will be more likely that one owner could develop it versus several owners developing it through townhouse. The townhouse will have several owners and developers. So if you have a mixed use on that site, even if it's in the side of the 10 acres in the front, that's more likely to happen than development. But it has to be zoned different. It's going to have to be zoned different along that. But I'm not trying to sound like a negative Nelly, but there's a very long process to whatever it's done.
Just one more question. How many owners? So is it one owner?
Mm-hmm.
And it's for sale right now, correct?
Except for that piece right there, that homeowner, house on the end, the house that's on the front. The back end of the brownfield, which is in Harmony Hills, where the pool is. Anybody ever been back down behind the pool? It's a whole nother world back there. Oh, what was you doing back there? Because that doesn't look like where you. That's.
Get your mic. Get your mic.
No, don't
need the mic. Just one more question. Can you find out how can we find out how much is for sale? It was? See if you can find out. I may know somebody that.
What you gonna do with it when you get it?
I mean, if it's a brownfield, it ain't going for top dollar.
And then unfortunately, but they're gonna be talking about it, our initial remediation efforts is getting ready to expire, but that, unfortunately, already has expired, but the first half was the actual evaluation of the site, and the second half was not the remediation, reporting of it. Unfortunately, that time lapse wasn't our fault, so current owner's gonna be looking into that, because that was not our fault, because if we go by that, we'd have to do it all over again. No. We were fortunate enough to be, because of a relationship, former city administrator at EPA, to get they had a surplus, and they said, if you fill it out, you get it, and that's what we did. So we're not trying to do it again. And it's like a catch-22 situation. They don't want to remove any toxins if you don't already have a plan in place, and you can't get a plan in place if you unless you have get the remediation done. So it's oh yeah, big baller.
Are there any other questions? Comments? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. I will be brief. My report, of course, can be found in board docs, but there are certain things that I want to highlight in my report. During the month of October, Clerk's Department completed a survey that they had partnered with the University of Baltimore to develop a comprehensive municipal service catalog. So each municipality had to complete the survey and submit the information over to University of Baltimore. So that information was completed on behalf of the city in collaboration with Mr. Barber and Mr. Pendleton to get the detailed information that's required for the report. Secondly, the Clerk's Department, of course, completed meeting agendas and 4 resolutions, which will be introduced, 3 ordinances and 1 resolution that will be introduced tonight. Out of the PIA request, part been inundated, so we received 8 for the month of October, with 1 outstanding, not for the department. So that is a record. Usually we have more outstanding, and for the year, received a total of 52 PIA. The Clerk's Department is still working on the initiative going out in the community. Our next day out, weather permitting, will be November 12th. This will be our last month out until the spring. I'm going door to door, and then we'll, and that completes my report.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
I do have a question about the survey, but in the sake of time, we can talk offline about it. But so we spend some time to talk about the survey.
No problem.
Say no, yes. We're gonna move on to our council report. Do we? I can't. Okay. All right. Gonna move on to legislation. 5.1, ordinance 26-03. Can we suspend the full reading of it since it's?
Council desires to suspend the full reading. You can make a motion to suspend, and I'll do the summary. Council Board.
I move that we suspend the full reading, as this is the second reading of ordinance O-26-03.
A second.
Want a voice?
No, I'm sorry. I was typing. My voting has. Jones.
4.
Scott. 5 to 1. Ordinance 2603 by the council October 15th, 2nd. Tonight, Monday, November 3rd, ordinance is for the purpose of amending FY 25 budget for police department, public aid grant dollars.
So move.
My vote on this. Measure passes 5.
Move on, 5.2.
Ordinance 26-04, introduced by City Council. They introduced on Monday, November 3rd, 2005, first reading. November 3rd, 2005, an ordinance concerning Chapter 67, property maintenance for the purpose of adopting 2021 International Property Maintenance Code published by the International Code Council as Property Maintenance Code for the City of Seat Pleasant, subject to certain modifications conditions peculiar to the City of Seat Pleasant, establishing the minimum regulations governing the conditions and maintenance of all property, buildings, and structures within the municipal boundaries of the City of Seat Pleasant, providing standards for supplied utilities, facilities, and other physical things and conditions essential to ensure that structures are safe, sanitary, and fit for occupation use, providing for condemnation of buildings and structure unfit for human occupancy and use, and the demolition of such structure, providing penalties for violation and for enforcement of property maintenance code, providing for appeals, judicial review of certain orders or decisions relating to property maintenance code, providing for the application of such regulations, standards, and penalties, providing that the title of this ordinance shall be deemed a fair summary and generally relating to the adoption of the property maintenance code of the City of Seat Pleasant, whereas pursuant to Code 12-203B of the Public Safety Article of Maryland Annotated Code, each political subdivision shall adopt a local housing code that sets minimum property maintenance standards for housing in the subdivision. And whereas pursuant to Code 12-203C, the Public Safety Article of Maryland Annotated Code, the Maryland General Assembly directed the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development to adopt by regulation a minimum livability code applying residential structure use for human habitation, provided however that the minimum livability code does not apply to any housing in a political subdivision that has adopted a local housing code that substantially conforms to the minimum livable code, minimum livability code, and whereas pursuant to 5-202 of the Local Government Article Code of Maryland, annotated code in section C-5018 of Charter for Seat Pleasant, the City Council is empowered and authorized to adopt and amend by ordinance as it may deem necessary a property maintenance code for the City of Seat Pleasant for protection and promotion of health, safety, and comfort, convenience, welfare, happiness of residents in the city and visitors thereto and sojourners therein. Whereas City Council desires to update and amend its existing property maintenance code as set forth in Chapter 67 of the Code of City of Seat Pleasant and as amended by ordinance number O-1808 from 2018, addition of the International Property Maintenance Code of the Minimum Livability Code and the 2021 International Maintenance Code as the Property Maintenance Code for the City of Seat Pleasant, subject to certain modifications to address conditions peculiar to City of Seat Pleasant establishment, minimum regulations governing the conditions, maintenance of all property, buildings, and structure in the City of Seat Pleasant, provide standards for supplied utilities and facilities, other physical things and conditions essential to ensure that structures are safe, sanitary, and fit for occupation and use, provide for condemnation of buildings and structures unfit for human occupancy and use for demolition of such structures, provide penalties for violation and for enforcement of property maintenance code, provide for appeals and judicial review of certain orders and decisions relating to property maintenance code, and provide for the application of such regulation standards and penalties where the city council deems it in the interest of the public health, welfare, and safety of citizens at City of East Pleasant for good government of City of East Pleasant to enact the ordinance to take actions as described here in section 1. Now therefore be it ordained by the East Pleasant City Council that section 67-1 and 67-2 of the Code of City of East Pleasant be and they hereby are repealed and amended to read as follows. 67-1, adoption of standards and copies on file. There is hereby adopted by the City of East Pleasant for the purpose of establishing minimum regulations governing the conditions and maintenance of buildings, structures, and property in the city, and condemnation of demolition in buildings and structures unfit for human occupancy or use, and documents entitled the Minimum Livability Code adopted by the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, set forth in Title 5, Subtitle 2, Chapter 3 of the Code of Maryland Regulations, and the International Property Maintenance Code as published by the International Code Council as the Property Maintenance Code for the city, subject to certain modifications and provisions of the chapter to address conditions peculiar to Seat Pleasant, not less than 3 copies of the Minimum Livability Code, the 2018 of the International Property Maintenance Code, and the 2012 of any future editions of the International Property Maintenance Code shall be kept on file in the office of the city clerk. In any situation where a provision of the Minimum Livability Code, the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code, and or this chapter conflict with the provisions which establish the higher standard for the promotion and protection of the public health and safety, welfare shall prevail regardless of which may have been enacted first. 67-2, the 2021 edition of the International Maintenance Property Code as adopted by 67-1 is modified as set forth below. That was section A. Well, we have to add the jurisdiction in which the city is East Pleasant in this particular section of the code, which is page 101 on page 1 in the actual document, and 2B 102.3 on page 1-2 is deleted, and the new section is 102.3 is subtitled as follow. 102.3, the application of other codes, any repairs, additions, or alterations to the structure or changes of occupancy should be done in accordance with the procedures and provision of all other codes applicable within the city of East Pleasant. C 102-7 on page 1-3 is deleted, and the new section is 102.8 is subtitled to read as follow. 102.8, reference codes standards. The standards referenced in this code and listed in chapter 8, except for the international zoning code, should be considered part of the requirements of this code to be prescribed extent of each such reference, except for the extent that any such standards have been expressly modified of the Code of the City of East Pleasant, where differences occur between the provisions of this code and reference standards of the provision of this code. The exception is where enforcement of code provisions would violate the conditions of the listing of the equipment or appliances. The condition of the listing shall apply. D, the new section deleting 102.1 is added to section 102 on page 1-4 immediately following section 102.11, which reads as follow. 102-12, conflicting provisions. Any situation where provision of this code conflicts with the provisions of any other ordinance, code, or regulation, the provisions which establish the higher standard for promotion and protection of the public health, safety, and welfare shall prevail regardless of which may have been enacted first. E, section 103, code official is subtitled to read as follow. Section 103, code compliance agency. 103.1, the code official shall be such person as the city council designates from time to time. The official designation by the city council to administer and enforce the code shall be known as the Neighborhood Commercial and Compliance Officer, NCC, the Code Enforcement Officer, NCC, shall serve at the pleasure of the city council. The city council may contract with an independent agency or organization for the code inspection and enforcement services. 104.1 fees, the city council may by resolution establish for activities and services performed by the code enforcement officer and carrying out the code enforcement officer's responsibilities under this code. F, section 109.3, 4, and 5 on page 1 through 9, deleted, and the new section is 109.3 and 109.4, which is substituted to read as follow. Violations and penalties under 109.3, violation of this code, failure to comply with this code or refuse to failure to comply with the notice issued pursuant to section 110 of this code are declared to be a misdemeanor. Any person who knowingly or willfully commits any of these acts shall, upon conviction, be guilty of a misdemeanor subject to a fine of $1,000, imprisonment for up to 6 months, or both fine and imprisonment each day one of these acts continues is a separate except as provided in paragraph 1 above. The violation of this code, failure to comply with this code, or refusal or failure to comply with the notice issued pursuant to section 107 of this code are declared a municipal infraction and shall be subject to a fine according to the approved fee schedule. We deleted section where it had 400. In accordance to the approved fee schedule, these acts are subject liability offenses. Each day one of these acts continues in separate offense. G 106.4 on page 103 was deleted, and the new section is 109.3. Prosecution, in addition to penalties provided for section 106.3 of this, in 106.3, in case of any violation of this code, the code official, with the approval of the chief executive officer, the city may institute in the name of the city an appropriate civil action or proceeding against the persons responsible for violation of the purpose of ordering that person. 1, to restrain, correct, or remove violation or refrain from further execution of work, and 2, restrain, correct, or erection, installation, maintenance, repair, or alterations of such buildings or structure or premises. 3, to require the removal of work in violation, or 4, to prevent the occupancy of the building, structure, or premises that are not in compliance with provisions of this code. G is the new section, and it reads for new section 111.2. If this structure is vacant and unfit for human habitation and occupancy, it is not in danger of structural collapse. The code official is authorized to post a placard or a condemnation on the premises and order the structure close up so as not to be an attractive nuisance. Upon failure of the owner to close up the premises with the time specified in the order, the code official shall cause the premises to be closed and secured through any available public agency or by contract or arrangement with private persons and cost thereof, and shall be the responsibility of the owner of the structure. Shall be a lien on the real estate upon which the structure is located, and may be collected and have the lien enforced in the manner and have the same rights, priority rights, interests, and penalties as the city real property taxes. 109.5 was revised, and the new section is 112.5, cost of emergency repairs subject to the availability of funds of the city's annual budget. Costs incurred in performing the emergency work shall be paid from the treasury of the city on the approval of the code official and the chief executive officer of the city. Upon request of the code official with concurrence of the chief executive officer of the city attorney should institute appropriate actions against the owner of the premises where the unsafe structure is or was located for recovery of such costs. Deleting 110, the new section is 113.3, failure to comply. If the owner of premises failed to comply with the demolition order within the time prescribed, the code official shall cause structure to be raised, removed, either through available public agency or by contract or arrangement with a private person. Of the cost of such raising and removal shall be responsibility of the owner of the structure. Shall be a lien on the real estate upon which the structure is located, may be collected and have the lien enforced in the same manner and have the same right, priority, rights, interests, and penalties of the city real property taxes. 111 was changed to 107.1 through 107.5. 107.1 is the application of appeal. Any person aggrieved by the decision of the code official may file a written notice of appeal with the city manager within 15 calendar days following the day of decision. Notice or order was served. A notice of appeal shall be accompanied by such fees of the city council may be prescribed by resolution. A notice of appeal shall be based upon a claim that the true intent of the code or the rules legally adopted thereunder have been incorrectly interpreted and the provisions of this code have been incorrectly applied. The provisions of this code do not fully apply. The requirements of this code can be adequately satisfied by other means, or that the strict application of any requirements of this code will cause an undue hardship. 107.2 deals with the hearing on the appeal. Any appeal properly and timely filed shall be heard by the hearing officer designated for the purpose by the city manager. The hearing officer shall be an attorney at law licensed to practice in Maryland. The hearing shall take place as soon as practical, but as at any event within 30 days after the notice of appeal has been received by the city manager. Notice of the hearing should be provided promptly to the person who filed the notice of appeal in the code official. Hearing shall be open to the public. The hearing officer shall determine the order of the presentation of the evidence argument at the hearing. The hearing officer shall not apply strict rules of evidence, but shall accept all evidence relevant to this issue on appeal and shall give such weight to evidence as hearing officer deems appropriate. The proceeding of the hearing shall be stenographically reported. 107.3 is the decision on appeal. Promptly after the conclusion of the hearing, the hearing officer shall decide the appeal by rendering written findings of facts and conclusion of law and send a copy to the city manager, the code official, the person who filed the notice of appeal, and any other parties of the proceeding. 107.4 judicial review. Any person aggrieved by the decision of the hearing officer may file a request for judicial review to the Circuit Court of Prince George's County within 30 days of the date of the hearing officer's decision. Promptly after filing the request for judicial review, the person who files the request for judicial review shall obtain a transcript of the proceedings before the hearing officer at his or her expense and shall provide a copy of to the chief executive officer without charge. 107.5, stay of enforcement. Any notice in order of the code official other than imminent danger notice is automatically stayed for a period of 15 days after service of the order or notice. If a notice of appeal is timely filed, the city manager, with the city manager, the notice or order is further stayed until the hearing officer has rendered a decision on the appeal. Notice or order and the decision of the hearing officer is not stayed during any period of judicial review unless otherwise ordered by the court. Deleted a new edition of the code official. The official designated by the city council to administer the code enforcement in 302.4 reads, weeds, all premises and exterior properties shall be maintained free from weeds or plant growth in excess of 8 inches in height. All nauseous weeds shall be prohibited. Weeds shall be defined as all grass, annual plants, and vegetations other than trees or shrubs, provided, however, this term shall not include cultivated flowers and gardens. Upon failure of owner or agent having charge of a property to cut, destroy weeds, or plant growth prohibited by this section after services of notice of violation, they shall be subject to section 109.3 and 109.4. Notwithstanding sections of 109.3 and 109.4, upon an owner's or agent's failure to comply with the notice of violation and provided that the notice violation advises the owner or agent of the remedies available to the city under this paragraph, any duly authorized employee or contractor of the city may enter upon the property in violation and cut, destroy, and remove the unlawful weeds and plant growth growing thereon, and the cost of such work and removal shall be the responsibility of the property owner and shall be a lien on the real property and may be collected and have the lien enforced in the same manner and have the same rights, priority rights, interests, and penalties as city real property. Section 2 and be it further ordained by the Sea Pleasant City Council that the recitals of this ordinance as are incorporated herein and deemed a substantial part of this ordinance, Section 3, and be it further ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that all other ordinances or parts of ordinances or provisions of this code of the City of Seat Pleasant in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance or the property maintenance code adopted by the ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent of any such inconsistencies. In Section 4, be it further ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that the title of this ordinance or condensed version thereof shall be deemed to be and is a fair summary of this ordinance and publication and all other purposes. In Section 5, be it ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court or competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate and distinct and independent provision, and such holdings shall not affect any validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance, it being the intent of the City Council that this ordinance shall stand notwithstanding the invalidity of any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion thereof. Section 6, and be it further ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council, the city clerk certified to the adoption of this ordinance and cause the same, or to the extent permitted by the charter, a fair summary of the same to be published as required by law, and that the ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the City Council of the mayor's veto.
You can breathe. Thank you so much for reading that. This is the first reading, and I know it was quite lengthy. I'm not sure if anyone has a question today, or they'd rather wait until the second reading, but at the second reading, we won't have her to read it all over again. So if it's something that you aren't, clear on, you might want to ask now while it's. Everybody's good? Go ahead.
Clarity on who introduces these legislation.
I'm not sure where this one has come from. Is this from public safety or?
Several of them. It didn't come from public safety, nothing came through safety.
No, it came through code enforcement. Code enforcement. So Chapter 67 is the code that deals with the property maintenance code, and the last code book that the city had adopted was 2018. So the intent was to update it. So the language that you see written in that ordinance is the difference between the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code to the 2021. So whenever the book is updated, we have to amend the code to reflect. So we adopted the most, I can't even say the latest version because there's a 2024 version. So we did the version prior to.
NCC part of public safety?
NCC is under the public safety umbrella. Yes, they are.
Go ahead. So, we talked about this before. The process, essentially, staff makes recommendations, councils make recommendations, and all of the things. So, like, if Councilmember Higgs says, thank you for this, now we'll put it in committee, then that would be a thing, right? But like, if Mr. Harris wanted to make a recommendation, it comes straight to the agenda if Councilmember Higgs says, put it on the agenda. So like, it's not policy that it comes through the committee. Ideally, it happens that way. But for something like this, that's law outside of Seat Pleasant, it's not, that's just an extra meeting. That's just like us having a meeting about when the police accountability laws came out. We can have a meeting about it all day long, but the laws are still the laws that we kind of have to adopt. So. And we still got a week, so you can always, if you got amendments, there's sections for amendments or add amendments when we.
Good. Any other questions, comments? Move on.
Ordinance O-2605, introduced by City Council.
I apologize. I
Yes.
didn't see you.
I was just curious, we're doing from 2018 to 2021, even though we have 2024, which is fine. And in there it's talking about a higher standard. Is it the higher standard between international in us or some kind of State Department in us, or is it the comparison between what we have in relationship to what?
So it could be all of.
Oh,
that you
okay.
s- So, or the city, basic city.
Mm-hmm. And is ours a higher standard or no?
So the higher standard is, and in this case, would be
Good. Move on.
ordinance O-2605, introduced by City Council, date introduced November 3rd, 2025, first reading November 3rd, 2025, an ordinance concerning amendment of fiscal year 2025-2026 budget for the city of Seat Pleasant, section 1, be it ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that 2025-2026 budget of the city of Seat Pleasant as enacted by ordinance O-2513, adopted on May 12, 2025, should be amended to repay the Internal Revenue Services Overpayment and Police Department GOCCP grant. General Fund Account Title Expenditures decrease the following line item. Expense Account Contingencies Department Administration Cost Center 5460. Current budget amount $423,588. Adjustment $208,603. New budget amount $214,985. Expenditure increase the following line item. Administration FICA Department Administration Cost Center 5140. Current budget amount $21,377. Adjustment $208,603. New budget amount $229,980. Following expenditure, increase the following line item. Revenue account GOCCP grant for new Next Generation Communications Initiative. The Department is Public Safety. The cost center is 4420. Current budget amount $56,250. Adjustment $30,000. New budget amount $86,250. Expenditure increase the following line item. Public Safety Field Supplies. Department Public Safety cost center 5750. Current budget amount $20,000. Adjustment $30,000. New budget amount $50,000. And section 2B, further ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that having been approved by the affirmative vote of at least the majority of the total elected membership of the council shall be necessary for adoption. The city clerk shall certify to the adoption of this ordinance and cause the same to be published as required by law, and that this ordinance should become effective immediately following approval by the mayor or passed by the city council after the mayor's veto.
We'll move on to the next.
Ordinance O-2606, introduced by City Council, date introduced November 3rd, 2025, first reading November 3rd, 2025. An ordinance concerning Chapter 10, Code Enforcement for the purpose of renaming certain sections of the chapter to reflect the current position title of the Neighborhood Commercial and Compliance Inspector, NCC, by amending Chapter 10, Code Enforcement, Section 10-1 through 10-3 of the Code of City of Seat Pleasant, whereas pursuant to 5-202 of the Local Government Article of the Maryland Annotated Code, Section 501 NC, and Section C-501A of the Charter of the City of Seat Pleasant, the City Council is empowered and authorized to adopt and amend by ordinance as it may deem necessary the Code of the City of Seat Pleasant for the protection and promotion of health, safety, comfort, convenience, welfare, and happiness of the residents of the city and visitors thereto and sojourners therein, and whereas the City Council desires to update and amend its existing code enforcement as set forth in Chapter 10 of the Code of the City of Seat Pleasant as amended by ordinance number O-85-03 to the current title of the Neighborhood Commercial and Compliance Inspectors, NCC, and whereas the City Council deems it is in the interest of the public health, welfare, and safety of the citizens of the Code of of the City of Seat Pleasant and for good government of the City of Seat Pleasant to enact this ordinance and to take actions as described here in Section 1, now therefore be it ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that Section 10-1 through 10-3 of the Code of the City of Seat Pleasant be and they hereby are repealed to amend as follows. 10-1 appointment. The current code says the mayor deleting the mayor due to the revised structure of the government, adding the city manager with council consent, shall appoint the leading code enforcement officers, adding the title of Neighborhood Commercial and Compliance Inspectors to issue municipal infractions, citations for violations of the code, and to otherwise take those actions necessary to enforce laws and ordinance of the city of Seat Pleasant as may be authorized by this code or by the mayor or his designee. 10-2, oath of affirmation. Neighborhood deleting code enforcement, neighborhood commercial and compliance inspectors shall be sworn officers of public officials representing the city of Seat Pleasant. They shall, upon taking office by oath of affirmation administered by the mayor or chief of police, pledge to enforce the laws and ordinance of the city of Seat Pleasant. 10-3, issuance of citation. In addition to the city, the neighborhood commercial and compliance inspectors, sworn officers of Prince George's County Police Department, adding, and the Seat Pleasant Police Department with jurisdiction within the city of Seat Pleasant are hereby authorized to issue municipal infractions citations. Section 2, be it further ordained by Seat Pleasant City Council that the recitals to this ordinance are incorporated herein and deemed a substantial part of this ordinance. Section 3, and be it further ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that all other ordinances or parts of ordinance provisions of the code of the city of Seat Pleasant in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance of the property maintenance code adopted by the ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent of such inconsistency. Section 4, be it further ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that the title of this ordinance or condensed version thereof shall be deemed to be and is a fair summary of the ordinance for publication of all purposes, for all other purposes. Section 5, and be it further ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court or competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity or of the renaming portions of this ordinance, it being the intent of the city council that this ordinance shall stand, notwithstanding the invalidity of any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion thereof. Section 6, be further ordained by the Seat Pleasant City Council that the city clerk shall certify to adoption of this ordinance and cause the same, or to the extent permitted by the charter, a fair summary of the same to be published as required by law, and that this ordinance shall become effective at the expiration of 20 days following the approval by the mayor or passage by the city council over the mayor's veto.
These again were first read, so we will hear them again. Then definitely email them over. Let's move on to resolution R 26-06.
Resolution number 2606, introduced by City Council date November 3rd, 2005. Resolution under Government Month for the purpose of declaring the month of November as Municipal Government Month. Whereas the city of Seat Pleasant was incorporated in 1931, and whereas Merlin is home of 156 other municipalities, and whereas municipal government represents the most responsive level of government, allowing citizens to have direct access to elected officials. And whereas the mayor and city council of the city of Seat Pleasant intend to educate citizenry of the city of Seat Pleasant, a smart city of excellence, about the services being offered on an ongoing basis by establishing 1 month of the year as Municipal Government Month. And whereas in an effort to educate citizens about municipal government and the importance of their participation, the city of Seat Pleasant is proud to promote municipal government awareness. And whereas municipalities have enhanced the quality of life for their respective residents by maintaining natural and historical sites and structures and helping to make Merlin a great place to live, work, play, and explore. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council of the city of Seat Pleasant hereby join the Maryland Municipal League in declaring November to be the Municipal Government Works Month in the city of Seat Pleasant.
So much.
I move that we adopt resolution R-26-06, Declaration of Municipal Government Month.
I second.
Any questions?
Online voting has. Scott? Yeah, okay, it's there. Okay. The measure passes unanimously by the city council.
So, I just want to thank the council and remind you guys that when, we go for our Banner City designation with the Maryland Municipal League, they inquire about our efforts for municipal, government month. And so this is something that seems ceremonial, but it matters. So thank you continuously, voting for this.
You have a comment?
So, I'm glad you said that. I was gonna wait until we got to the next section, but I do intend on celebrating Municipal Government Month, if we were to move down to 8.2 and hosting the Talk About It Tuesday, where we'll talk about our government and the resources we have and how to, connect with your elected officials and all of those things. That is somewhat a celebration of municipal government. And I will actually have food. Y'all know I do not like feeding people.
Thank you all so much. We're going to move on to our announcements for this evening. Councilwoman Scott.
Announcements, 8.1, the public session, Monday, November the 10th. It'll take place at City Hall, 6301 Addison Road. It'll also take place online, and the meeting link is available on the city website at 7 p.m. 8.2 is Councilmember McCarthy is hosting a Talk About It Tuesday, on Tuesday, November the 18th. And that's going to take at the Guanacaste, 5948, and that's Suite B. It's located on MLK Junior Highway, and that's going to be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And 8.3 is the National League of City, the City Summit Conference. It's going to take place at Salt Lake City, Utah, November 20th through the 22nd. 8.4, Councilmember Kearney is hosting a turkey trot on Saturday, November 22nd. That's going to take place at Birchleaf Park. The address is 801 Birchleaf Avenue, and that's from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. 8.5 is the regular work session, December 1st. It's also going to take place on Zoom video at 6 p.m., and it'll be located at City Chambers, 6301 Addison Road. 8.6 is the public session. That's going to take place at 7 p.m. It's also located at City Chambers and online. The city links is also located on the city website, and that's December 8th at 7 p.m. That will conclude the announcements.
So much. Are there anything else for the good of the group tonight? Are you trying to tell me something?
I'd like to introduce a resolution, either for this meeting or next.
Resolution?
I have a closing prayer.
Or you want to add a closing
Yeah,
prayer to the
we have
end?
I think we should have a.
I have no problem with that. Does anybody else have a problem with closing?
Are you asking to make that policy, or are you asking
To just do it,
during Councilmember Higgs' time as president?
Just add it to the agenda, like we have an opening.
Right, I'm asking, are you asking to make that ongoing policy, or are you asking that right now? So the council president sets the rules per se, right? So if right now she wants to add prayer as a closing prayer, that's one thing. If you want to put it into policy, I'm asking, because the processes are different.
Is the opening prayer policy? Is that a policy?
I don't think it's not, I don't think it's a law. It's just something that has been done in tradition. I don't believe like there was, and correct me if I'm wrong, if legislation was put forth, say this is so like if a new president came in, they wanted to change the agenda, they could. So I'm asking, do you want to make that a city practice, or you ask council president to make it her practice?
To add it, I don't have a problem with, having closing. That's what you're asking.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
And I only made the distinction
I thought we had
because
to
if
vote on
somebody,
it, though.
I only made the distinction because if somebody else comes behind for whatever reason and it's something they're against, it's a whole different process. Change it. I'm a prayer. Listen, I done prayed like 3 times since we've been up, so I'm not against the prayer at all. I just wanted to know how you wanted to go about it. That's all.
Yeah.
But of course, I don't have a problem with it, and I do appreciate the clarification, but of course, I'm always gonna ask my colleagues, do you all, consent
we had to
to
vote on it.
a closing prayer? We can just take a consensus, like,
Okay.
does anyone have a problem with us praying? Is everybody okay with us having a closing prayer?
We started today, or we don't?
We can close it today. We can do it now, so we can go ahead and you can have a closing prayer. We can add that at the end of the agenda before we leave, with all hearts and mind clear.
Gracious God, we thank you for guiding our discussion this evening. Bless each and every council member, staff member, and presenter who contributed to this session. As we leave this place, grant us the continued wisdom, integrity, and a heart to serve the people of Seat Pleasant with excellence. Keep us safe until we meet again. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The meeting is adjourned at 9:04 p.m.